great. Okay, great to start just about on time this week. So good evening, everyone. My name is Marissa Mack. I'm the chair of the Economic Development and Culture Committee for Community Board 11. I hope you are all doing great and staying warm on this colder day of December. Um, we are ready to get started here. So I'm going to start with a few ground rules and then we will get this meeting going. So no one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. If you click the participants icon, the participants panel should appear and you should find the raise hand function there. If you still have technical difficulty, you may click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. Board members, the chat function should not be used for CB11 business or questions about the agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. Please keep your questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand through Zoom and wait to be recognized. Okay, so now we are going to go to, I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'm sorry, and it is, just check the time. It is 6:34 p.m. Angel, if you could call the roll, that would be great.
Sure. Committee members, when I call your name, please answer present. Stephanie Arroyo.
Present.
April Autry.
Present.
Adem Briha.
Present.
Devin Cronshaw.
Present.
Jewel Jones.
Present.
Marissa Mack.
Present.
Giselle Malave. Jennifer Meyer.
Present.
Jessica Morris. Robert Perez. Eugene Rodriguez.
Present.
Vinnie Torres. Jenny Tromsky. You have quorum.
Thank you so much, Angel. So just wanted to make, well, let me just make a note. I'd like to adopt the agenda. If there are any objections, please raise your hand. Otherwise, the agenda will be adopted. Okay, seeing no hands, the agenda is adopted. And then in terms of the meeting minutes, we are still playing catch up, but the great thing is the meetings are recorded and are available on YouTube. So if there are any questions or anyone needs to refer to any information that is being presented this evening or any other evening, you are able to go to the CB11 YouTube page and listen to the recordings there. So moving forward, I just wanted to make just a few announcements. Or Angel, do you want to start with these and then I can make my announcements?
Sure. It's out of the way so I can read. Quickly, the next meeting of the Economic Development and Culture Committee is scheduled for January 17th, 2023 at 6:30. Secondly, the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene is proposing rules to implement local law 80 of, disregard that 2021, concerning the reduction or waiving of monetary penalties for certain first-time violations. Certain other amendments, corrections, and formatting changes are also being proposed. A public meeting will be held online on Tuesday, January 3rd from 10 a.m. to noon to hear comments on the rules. To view the proposals and find out how to comment or join the meeting online, visit newyorkcity.gov/health permits.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Angel.
Just
Oh,
one
go
more.
ahead.
The Department of Small Business Services is currently accepting applications for its fiscal year 23 Merchant Organizing Strategic Impact Grant. The grant is designed to fund place-based merchant organizing projects and services that aim to form new merchant associations and/or revitalize existing merchant associations in a minimum of 3 neighborhoods. Nonprofit organizations are eligible to apply on their own or in order to meet the criteria can also team up with other nonprofit community organizations. The deadline to apply is December 18th, and projects must be completed by the end of fiscal year 2023. So by next June 30th. That's my last one.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Angel. And actually, just to add to that last announcement, the grant is a refundable grant. I believe it's up to 750,000 for the organization. So quite a good amount there, and it can be a collaboration between CBOs within a community. So I feel like that's a really good opportunity for nonprofits to look at additional funding from different areas, SBS being one of them. Stephanie, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was local law 80. Is it still time to comment, or is this just for during the hearing? I didn't quite catch that. I'm sorry.
So, Angel, I'm gonna bounce that to you.
There's still time to comment.
Because I just went to the website and it says comment session is closed.
I don't know. Just copied the notification that they gave us.
Gotcha. All right.
Mhm.
Okay, are there any other questions before we move on? Okay, all right, so just a few notes here. One, I had a conversation with Angel and staff regarding the opening of some of the smoke shops in the community or existing smoke shops within the community, and cannabis overall and what that means for our neighborhood. And we're going through now just talks in regards to the process of some of the newer shops opening, what that looks like for our community. I will note that I believe the West Side just had a town hall at John Jay with the Office of Cannabis Management about I guess some of what we need to know, kind of like a what you need to know from a community standpoint for this new office and what it looks like for communities. Stephanie had also mentioned that this is something that we may want to look at and have a broader conversation about. So I think that this is an area for us to dig a little bit deeper into and actually have some sort of say as to what's coming to our communities, how it's helping, how it's benefiting. And then also, you know, what are some parameters that we may want to look at in terms of businesses selling cannabis within CB11. So just wanted to make a note of that. Tomorrow I will be meeting with Link NYC, starting to have conversations with them about a possible program for ambassadors within the community, which and Link NYC, for those who don't know, they are the service that provides Wi-Fi throughout our community. Hopefully some of you have seen some of the towers that exist, and then some of the newer ones, some of the newer 5G towers that exist within our community. But they have been in contact with us regarding, you know, best ways to use their tower, marketing, and then also possibly partnering with local organizations as they move forward. So I will be meeting with them tomorrow just to have further talks about what that looks like and you know, how we can better use some of those towers for our businesses within the community. Additionally, I know we have the East Harlem tree lighting. I'm happy that as a committee we were able to support that and then move that forward to the full board for support. So happy that that longstanding initiative is still going on and that we have supported it. And then I also wanted to make a note for those of you who know Lou from Bistro Casa Azul. He has been on our calls and then also on calls for full board, and he's made a note that I would love for us to see if we would want to kind of maybe push forth and back in some way to have a little bit more safety within the community with regards to cameras in and around certain neighborhoods. And I think this is something that really makes sense. I think in a lot of ways for things that are going on within our community for safety of residents, but then also for the safety of businesses. I know that, the city in terms of funding right now, it's difficult to kind of, see where we are, but I do think that it's worth looking into further, especially in neighborhoods where we are having an uptick in crime, and where I think certain types of crimes are happening. So I did want to just make a note of that, note that, his idea did not just go to the wayside, and that I do think it's something that we should look into and possibly press with our elected officials to see if there are ways to get more cameras within communities that need it, and that would work in tandem with some of the on the street and on the grounds policing that happens, just to ensure that we're all safe. So just wanted to make those notes here. Stephanie, did you have a additional note, or was that from before?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought I put my hand up. Sorry.
Okay, no, it's fine. It's fine. Eugene?
Thank you. I had a problem unmuting. Thank you for
It's fine.
recognizing
Mhm.
Chairwoman Mack. I went by Casa Azul the other day and spoke at length with Mr. Miller's his name, I believe, right? And he has a petition going around the community, which I signed and supported. I think maybe we should, get involved with that petition somehow.
Absolutely. I agree. And I think it would be helpful for us as even a committee, and then a board overall, to see, what we can do to support and help. So thank you, Eugene, for noting that and bringing that up.
Yeah. I also found out from him and some other merchants. He lives, the restaurant's right around the corner from me. So when I go to the grocery store, I have to pass everybody. So I
Mhm.
spoke to somebody, and I understand there's a number of break-ins in the community.
Yes.
Uh,
And that's a part of it too. Yeah, I was able to get some more information on that and actually speak to, I'm right around the corner from you. I'm actually on Pleasant. He's down the street from me. I've been able to,
Hi.
yes, I've been able to talk at length about that as well. And so that's why I stated, not only from from a standpoint for businesses, but then also from a standpoint for the community as well. But I think that it would help the city tremendously, and not just from like our neighborhood, right, but from neighborhoods that an uptick of violence has particularly taken place, for businesses and for residents. It would not hurt to have an increase or set aside some funding for additional cameras within certain neighborhoods. So thank you for noting that and bringing that up. Xavier?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for mentioning this. Some of the challenges in that area, and I was glad to have a conversation with you about it, because you live over in that area of the neighborhood. The challenges they're facing is that there's been an exodus from the 2-5, which serves that area. There is a reticence. They just need to bring in more officers. They've been transferred, et cetera, and so on. There is a patchwork of cameras, but nothing to bridge it, which is why that's being advanced. There is also a fear of the residents that there would be retribution if they did report, due to the fact that, sorry, my dog. If they, in the event that there was a B&E and someone got assaulted and stolen, the tenant was afraid of reporting it for fear of retribution, because when you report that and they go to press charges, that witness or individual is identified. So that is the feeling in the air, and I'm just relaying the information that's being conveyed to me in those conversations. The other aspect too is we discussed at Public Safety and Transportation. According to Detective Lombardi, there have been over 400 declined to prosecutes per day one memo, and how that which ones those are, and I've asked them to compartmentalize that, to have that reported back to Public Safety and Transportation. I think it would behoove this committee, as it impacts the sentiment and culture of our community when it comes to commerce, how that is influencing the neighborhood. So I appreciate that and taking that on. So thank you, Chairwoman Mack, and all of the board members. And yeah, just keep reaching out and connecting, because that's how we extend our web of community.
Thank you so much, Xavier. Thank you for that. And Xavier serves as the chair of our community board for those who are new to the call or just joining us for the first time this evening. Okay, so we are going to swiftly move along. We have Carrie King here from Uptown Grand Central. Carrie, you do have the floor.
Thank you so much. So I'm gonna mostly just tell you about a lot of amazing fun things that are happening over the next 3 weeks, all of which include our small businesses. This is my son Kai. He's supposed to be eating dinner, and hopefully he will continue to do so. So there's lots of stuff going on. This weekend is going to be the third and final weekend of the season of the Harlem Night Market at La Marqueta. For the past 2 weekends, we've been hosting the night market with about 50 different vendors every night, stretched all the way from the historic market, the indoor market, just south of 115th Street, to the La Placita event space between 115th and 116th, and then Urban Garden Center just north of 116th Street. So there's food, there's sweet food, there's savory food, there's dancing, and there's lots and lots of good winter shopping with amazing artisans and crafters. About 50% of the vendors are from East Harlem, and about 99% of the vendors are from East Harlem, Harlem, and the Bronx. So everybody's very, very local, and there's lots of good vendors to support. That will continue. The last weekend will be this Saturday from 4 to 8 p.m. And we're going out with a bang, because there is also going to be a trolley sponsored by Union Settlement that will take you around Harlem and take you to 125th Street, where they're in our Uptown Grand Central Community Plaza. We're having a pop-up ice rink. So you can skate at 125th Street, get on the trolley, and go back to La Marqueta and shop. So shop, trolley, skate, shop, trolley, skate, back and forth.
And eat.
And eat and dance. So we're really grateful. EDC has been the new market manager. She's not really new, but she's relatively new. Eileen Gaztambidi has been a really great support in growing the market year after year. And it's just great to see La Marqueta filled with people. So you're invited for this weekend for both the skating and the market. The links are in the chat. And then we've also been hosting on Sundays hot chocolate bike rides with El Barrio Bikes, which is an advocacy group that has been founded out of the East Harlem Health Action Center to promote biking and to create a culture around biking and walking in East Harlem. So that group has trained every year they train different cohorts of ride leaders, and the ride leaders are leading hot chocolate rides where we ride to small businesses and sample their hot drinks, usually hot chocolate and another drink. This past weekend we were at the new UGC Eats. They've relocated from Park Avenue to 104th Street. And Don Alejo Coffee, which if you've not been there, it's a new-ish coffee shop on 116th Street that's run by the same family as Taco Mix. And it's named, Don Alejo is the grandfather of the current Alejo Sanchez who runs Taco Mix. So it's connected in that way. And there's lots of good Mexican treats in there as well. And then we finished off at Super Nice Bakery, which as usual had a very, very long line down the block for donuts. But we had coffee from there as well. So each weekend we're able to spotlight some businesses as well as safe, healthy pathways around the neighborhood, which is great. And then the last big event to tell you about is this coming, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. It's Make Music New York. And also it's going to be the unveiling, the official plugging in of Uptown Flash, which is our new lighting installation at 125th Street. If you've been to 125th Street in the past week, you may have seen, because we went ahead and plugged it in, the colorful lights underneath the train tracks between 124th and 125th. As y'all know, every space underneath the Metro North is difficult in terms of safety and lighting and safe transit through that space. So we've been working for a while to ask DOT and MTA to officially light it with real lighting. And barring that, we decided to light it ourselves. So we work with the Design Trust for Public Space and a lighting designer who usually designs for transit stations named Lenny Schwendiger, and designed a lighting installation that does not break any Metro North rules. So there's nothing attached to the viaduct. There's nothing that can get us in trouble. It's all structured in a way underneath the train tracks. But it adds a lot of color and light and makes it feel, when we started, I didn't even know how it was going to end up, but it actually kind of like drops the ceiling a little bit from the Metro North, which makes it a little cozier underneath the train track. So it feels more like a space. So we'll have the official plugging into that. And Lenny, the designer, is also going to do a light walk of 125th Street. So that's also a combination of holiday cheer with public safety, because she's going to be looking at not only our beautiful holiday lights that now wrap the trees of 125th Street, but also look at, the spaces that are darker, the spaces that need a little love. So it'll be an interesting light walk starting at 6:30, then we'll plug it in. Then there's going to be 2 marching bands and hot chocolate. So it'll be policy combined with holiday fun. So we hope you can come out for that as well.
Carrie, thank you so much. I just want to plug the night market. I didn't attend this weekend, but the previous weekend, the first weekend, even without the trolleys and all the extras, that have been added on, it was an amazing event, and it's so good to see La Marqueta just being really used this year a lot for different events and in a safe, fun way. So just encouraging everyone to come out this weekend too for the event. Just really, really fun. And then also in terms of the bike rides, I think Angel, were you featured in? Angel, were you?
He
featured in
was.
So I just want to shout out Angel too. So I thought I saw an email where he's featured in the promotional video. So we have a superstar here amongst us. So please be sure to get his autograph when you see him. And also just thank you overall for programming, for the community and all that you do. So thank you for presenting. And I just wanted to open it up for any questions. Oh, and also too, when you have the flyer for the light show, please specifically, if you could send that along, of course, we would share out. Are there any questions before we move on?
I'm dropping Angel. You can watch the Instagram video. I think he's in there.
Yes.
I just dropped that in the chat, and I'll drop in the link for hot chocolate rides as well. They're sold out. Hot chocolate rides are already sold out, but we might open a few more slots, in which case you can get in. And thank you for the comments in the chat. Thanks for participating in all this. It wouldn't work unless y'all came. So thank you for being such supporters.
Okay, great. So we are, and please tell Kai good night. And now we are moving on. Angel, if you could share the agenda. I don't think we have anyone here from Union Settlement this evening, but we will next month. So is he still on? Yeah, okay. Okay. Okay, so El Museo.
Hi. Hi everyone, happy to be here. Just wanted to share quickly an update on our holiday programming that we have. Just really quickly this past
And
Saturday.
Chelsea, I'm so sorry, before you just jump in, would you be able to introduce yourself for everyone that's here on the call and everything? Great, thank you so much.
So sorry.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
So sorry about that. So I'm Chelsea Peyot. I'm the Government and Community Affairs Manager at El Museo del Barrio. So really quickly, just going to share some updates on what we have going on. This past Saturday, we were able to bring back our Coqui Club programming, which is our programming for children ages 5 and under. It's been happening virtually since the beginning of the pandemic, and we were able to bring it back in person this past Saturday. We had a great turnout of local families who came and participated in the storytelling and also art making workshops for the younger children. And we had that in the morning, Saturday morning, and then in the afternoon, we had our holiday parranda. event, which was a huge success. We had about 100 people come out to El Museo and participate. So it started with, we had a workshop that was led by the Bomba group Bomba Yo. They led a workshop on just sharing the origins of the tradition, the traditional parranda, what it means to just celebrating the holidays. And they also taught everyone the traditional songs to sing before we headed out into the street. And then we had from that group of 100, I think about 60 people joined us out into the street, and we marched up from El Museo up 106th Street and stopped at local businesses, bringing holiday cheers, singing songs. We even took over one of the M4 buses. That was one of the bus drivers was on his break and invited everyone to jump onto the bus. So that was really exciting. We went into the church on 106 and 3rd, and we ended our parranda at La Fonda, which was a really great surprise for everyone who was enjoying their lunch that day. So very excited that we were able to kick off our holiday programming with that event. And also just letting everybody know that our Three Kings Day Parade is coming back this year in person. It'll be our first in-person parade since 2020. So we're very excited that it's coming back. That'll be on Friday, January 6th on Three Kings Day. And we're gonna have our breakfast, reception, and honorary ceremony at 9 a.m. in the cafe. And then we will have the kickoff to the parade at 11 a.m., which will go from El Museo up to La Marqueta 116th Street area. And then afterwards at 1 p.m., we'll have the post-parade community celebration back at El Museo in our theater for anybody that would like to join. So I will definitely send out the event flyer as well as a link for anyone who wants to actually march in the parade. We do have a sign up link for organizations or any school groups that want to join in and march. So I'll share that link as well. And we're actually looking for volunteers to help us out on the day of the parade. So if you are interested in volunteering on that day, I can put my email in the chat, and we can coordinate that, and I'll put you on the volunteer list. Also just want to let you know that our theme this year is Entre Familia, which is supporting the mental health and wellness of our community. So we have a great cohort of honorees this year of people in the community who specifically align with this theme of working either in the mental health space or just overall wellness space, community health. And there's a lot of great folks local to East Harlem, but also up into Upper Manhattan and the Bronx who do work around this theme, and we're super excited to have them as our honorees this year. Those are all my updates. So I'll just make sure to send all that info out to the board so that you can share it with everyone.
Chelsea, thank you so much. You guys are so busy, and that's good to hear that you're connecting with all these different areas. I know a couple of communities that will be, community organizations that will be participating in the parade. So good to hear that you are also still opening that up, and that other organizations, if they want to be involved, can also to join you in the celebration. So that's awesome to hear. Is there anything I would ask you, if you can, to also stay? I know Eugene will have the floor this evening and wanted to talk about some of the cultural aspects of the community and maybe building that out. So if you're able to stay on the call, that would be great. But also wanted to ask you, is there anything specifically now that obviously besides getting volunteers and other organizations for the parade, is there anything else that the board could help the museum do at this point in time in terms of programming or anything of that nature?
I think I have to definitely give it some thought, and I will get back to you. But right now we're in Three Kings mode, I think.
Yep. Focus. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. That's something an area that can possibly be help that maybe you can help out is for planning the breakfast. I'm actually looking to see if we can work with one of the local maybe bakeries or restaurants in the area to cater the breakfast. Usually we have our cafe in operation that will take care of that, but we don't have that this year. So I definitely want to work with just one of the local businesses to be able to cater that so that we can kind of, work together in providing them business, but also have someone local to provide the food for the honorees and electeds and everyone who comes. So,
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's no problem with, supplying you some names and then you
Yeah.
guys seeing, who you might be interested in working with, but definitely enough bakeries here for you guys to partner with. So we can definitely have that conversation. But again, happy that you guys have programming and that you're moving forward. We want to make sure that our arts and cultural institutions in the community are supported in the work that they're doing. So thank you for presenting out. Are there any questions? Okay, no questions, but Chelsea, if you could drop all the information that you can in the chat, I'm like moderating and moving. So if you could just put it in there, and for those who are able to access it, that would be great.
great.
Okay, thank you. All right, Angel, if you could move along, thank you so much. So now we have a presentation from Verde, New York City's future cannabis business plan. So are the representatives here, Raphael, Christina, and Crystal?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so the floor is yours. Please give a brief background on the business, what you're looking to do, and then please present out. Thank you.
Sure. Just quick question. I do have a PowerPoint presentation. Is there any way that I can share my screen?
You should have the share screen capabilities. If you
I
have
just
the
wanted
green
to check
share.
in with you.
Yes, no, absolutely.
Great. Okay, I'll do that now. Okay, so you can see this, right? Okay, hi everyone. So I am Christina Arez, and I'm here to talk about Verde NYC, which is a future cannabis company that my partner Crystal and I are planning to, we're planning to apply for a license in New York. So this is the agenda. We're going to introduce ourselves. We're going to talk a little bit about our store vision, community benefits, and then goals and milestones. So Verde is a Latina mother-owned cannabis company. And it started with myself, Christina, and my partner, Crystal, who I'm going to have introduce herself as well. I'm the CEO of the company. I'm also a mother to a 1-year-old, and I'm a Bronx native from Gun Hill Road. My family still lives there, and for the last 15 years, I've worked as an educator in New York and in Los Angeles. I'm also a board certified behavior analyst. So we, wanted to get together and just try something new and different. I know it's very opposite of, what it sounds like an educator would do, but here we are. So I'll let Crystal, would you like to introduce yourself?
We can't hear her.
Yeah.
Yeah, Crystal, you are completely muted, even though it doesn't seem like you're muted here, but we can't hear you. Not sure if it's something on your end. So if not, Christina, if you want to power through.
Yeah, I'll power through. I'll give a brief background on her. So Crystal is our president. She's also a mother. She has 4 beautiful children. She's a Baltimore native and a real estate developer.
Okay, and I just wanted to know, Crystal, if you want to dial in or call from your phone, or if there's another way that you want to connect, please feel free to do so. Okay. All right, sorry, Christina, go ahead.
Yeah, that's okay. So just a little brief background on what we're trying to do. So we're looking to open an adult use retail dispensary that captures the essence of East Harlem. We're currently scouting retail locations on 3rd Avenue and 116th Street. And we want to sell cannabis products that meet the health and quality standards that the law requires. So we're planning to have 20 in-store employees and delivery staff of up to 25 employees. And we also just want to bring a brand and operation that balances fun and responsibility and is led by the experience of motherhood. We're doing this because We just want to build something fun and creative to the community. We're currently looking into a retail location between 2,500 and 3,000 square feet. And we've currently budgeted about 250,000 to our store build out so that we can create something nice and appealing. And we understand that 40% of our tax revenue will go back into communities like East Harlem. So that was something that was also very appealing to us. We also want to hire locally and give people in the neighborhood jobs. And a main priority of ours is just keeping our children safe while bringing something fun to the community. You know, I know that a lot of illicit markets have been opening up, and without any knowledge of the products that they're selling and who they're selling it to. And we don't want to do that. We want to be responsible stewards to the neighborhood. So I can give you just the vision. This is our store vision. This is our rendering of the build out that we envision for the store. So we want to have a clean, minimalist design that includes art from local artists and elements of East Harlem culture. And then I can dive into some of the community benefits. So again, we're committed to hiring locally. We will make a commitment to hire 75% from the community, and that's going to be about 16 jobs. We are actively negotiating a peace labor agreement with local 338 labor union. And we are committed to complying with all state and federal tax regulations. So, you know, that benefits the community. So there's 40% to the state lottery fund for education purposes, 40% to the community grants reinvestment fund, which has things like job placement, housing, community banking, and then 20% to the drug treatment and public educational fund. And lastly, I'll just give a brief background of our goals and milestones. So we just basically plan to have our site secured by 6/1/2023, and then commence operations by the end of the year. So that's pretty much just a background of Verde. And I'm actually going to open up the floor to our Chief Legal Officer, Rafael Urena, for any questions or any additional details that he may want to add.
So just one note before we get open for questions. I just want to highlight that the cannabis law in New York, known as the MRTA, requires adult use retail dispensary applicants to notify the municipality. In New York City, the municipality will be the community board, where the applicant's premise will be located. This gives the community board an input into whether to support an applicant or to, I guess, go against an application. So once a community board expresses an opinion about whether that applicant should be approved or denied a license, the community board must then respond to the community board itself with an explanation of how such an opinion was considered. I think this is empowering for local communities to kind of shape what kind of cannabis market they want. We know what we've seen so far is that an illicit market has sprouted up all over New York City. It's kind of ubiquitous. We see these smoke shops opening up. It's not intended to be that way. I think, and the law envisions the community boards to shape how this market is going to be in the community and shape how many applicants and what kind of applicants are actually operating this cannabis market. So that's something really empowering for the community board. We intended to make this presentation to open up the dialogue a little bit and to kind of express what we've learned about in the process, so the community boards like East Harlem can make informed decisions. So this is sort of like opening the dialogue with the community so we can eventually get your support.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from Verde that is presenting, or you?
That's it right
That's it.
now.
Okay.
So we can open to questions if anybody
Okay.
has one.
No, absolutely. So I just wanted to start to say thank you for presenting. You are our first business that's coming before us, before economic development for cannabis business within the community. So, thank you for just opening up this conversation and, just allowing us to dig a little bit deeper into what this will look like for this community specifically. So I just wanted to ask in general, have either of you had any other businesses, any storefront, commercial space businesses previously, or know about running a business? Kind of like, what's your background in
Right.
general?
So I, as the chief legal officer, have my own immigration practice as a law firm. So I've been committed to that. Crystal is owning and operating a real estate development company that has done, I believe, $50 million worth of real estate development and sales and operations. As far as direct retail operations for cannabis products, we have a director of operations named Marcus Bennett, who's been part of our team. He's ran a processor in Los Angeles called THC Designs. So he's very familiar with cannabis regulations in the state of California and how those have played out in that state.
Okay. And Christina, is she an owner? Christina?
No, she does not have business experience. She's an education. She comes from an education background.
Okay. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
trying to put all the
yes.
pieces together in terms of who's who. Okay. Regarding I think your numbers, if you could go back to that slide with some of the numbers in terms of the community give back. I just wanted to see that listed out, like the 40% and the 20% hiring, and if you could go back to that slide. I'm just asking because the numbers seem aggressive in terms of the givebacks, which is great. I'm not turning it away, but just wondering, in terms of obviously a profit for the business,
Right. So
how
this
that
is actually
down. Yeah.
This is actually this is from the MRTA regulation. So the law expressly allocates the tax revenue from the sales of cannabis products to go to these to be divided in this way. So 40% will go to the state lottery fund, 40% will go to community grants and reinvestment, and 20% to drug treatment and public education. Now, this is not our profits, right? Because that would be 100% of profits. This is the division of cannabis taxation
Okay.
that will go to benefit the community in
Those
this
different
way.
breakdowns. Got
Correct.
it. Okay.
Yes.
And then I don't want to take up all of the questions, but I did also want to know about safety, and then also about finances and how you'll be handling money at this location. So have you, and asking because I know that not every bank is on board yet with businesses that are in the cannabis space. And so will there be a transaction of just cash only? What type of payments will you be taking, and asking because of the safety of not only the workers and the businesses, the people in the community, just what in the makeup of the area in general, like what are your thoughts there? What were you thinking in regards to that?
Right. So safety is a main priority of Verde. I think because it just makes also sound business practice, right, to have a safe environment in which to do business. Verde is a women-owned company, and women is the largest segment of cannabis purchasers, growing segment of cannabis purchasers in the cannabis market, and that's because women feel safe going to safe places to purchase their marijuana products, their cannabis products. So safety is very important for Verde. We'll comply with all of the regulations to have 1080 IP cameras covering the entire store and the entire storefront. And also we intend, while financial transactions are a little difficult with the the sale of cannabis still being federally prohibited, we envision that we'll have cashless ATM purchases of cannabis at our store, but we will also take cash, and we'll use safety compliance to have pickups of that cash at different times through the day in a safe way to avoid having large amounts of cash on the premise. And by having a licensed operation, I think we'll be able to do that and do it in a way that complies with state regulations.
Okay.
So we also do have a local community bank that we're working with already. So we've already started the process on how we're going to have banking operations done for cannabis for a cannabis operation.
Okay. Giselle, I'm gonna open it up to you, our vice chair.
Thank you, Marissa. Good evening. Thank you, Christine, for your presentation. I had two questions. The first question was, what was the thought process behind coming to East Harlem specifically? Like, have you walked around and just taken a good look at, the community, the types of businesses, the people that you're going to be servicing, especially on 116th? And then also my second question is, are one of the owners or like people on the license required to be on the premise at all times?
Okay. The first question, I'll answer the second question first. There's no requirement that the owners be on the premise at all times. There is a person that should be appointed to be a manager at the store and to operations, and then we have to disclose who that manager is to the community, to the cannabis board. The first question is that I lived on 116th Street and 3rd, right next to the Wendy's. We know the area very well. We've been scouting that retail corridor, and we've seen that the 116th Street has a very strong retail corridor, and we appreciated that, and we also knew that 3rd Avenue also had a robust retail corridor as well that was appealing to us. We conducted part of our decision-making process in choosing East Harlem came from a study that Verde conducted about the profitability of dispensary operations in the United States. So at the forefront is we are a business. So we discussed that, and we discovered that Hispanic populations and Hispanic communities enjoy cannabis products more frequently than other communities. So that was kind of, and that came after we kind of made this decision to start Verde. And it kind of fell in line with who we were, right? At the top of our business are two Puerto Rican women, right? So it kind of made sense when we saw that, oh, look, you can have a profitable business in a Hispanic community and we're a Hispanic company. It kind of made sense to marry the two and start this venture here in East Harlem.
And I also want to add that coming from the Bronx and growing up in the Bronx, I also feel like a deep connection to East Harlem. That was another reason why it kind of stood out to me.
Thank you.
Okay, Stephanie.
Hi, thank you for presenting that. So if I'm understanding, you guys already received the license?
No, we have not received a license, and we will not operate until we receive a license. Any dispensary operation that you see at this point that is operating, any smoke shop that's selling THC products is operating without a license and without the purview of the Cannabis Board.
Gotcha. So have you already accessed the space, the real estate on 116 and 3rd?
No, but that we haven't. We've been in communications with real estate agents about how that's going to play out. Obviously, this is new for everybody, especially real estate owners, about having a cannabis dispensary operating in their stores in the state of New York. And we're kind of going through that process. Regulations for for our type of license dropped, I believe, 2 weeks ago. So we just got the regulations. So the distancing between schools, all of distancing between churches just came out about 2 weeks ago. We wanted to ensure before we secured a space that we were in compliance with all of those regulations, because I think those regulations are going to be very important to, or at least complying with those regulations is going to be very important for community board support. So we didn't want to step in some mud and find a secure location that we weren't going to be able to use in the long run.
Gotcha. And you've also taken into account that you may have, whatever space you have, you may have to like completely restructure it, because there's a certain way that you would have to have a dispensary created for it to be legitimate, a dispensary, right? You've taken
right. There's going to be probably some build out requirements
Yeah.
that we'll see in the regulations. So we're going to have, but that's why we're committed to getting a 2,500 to 3,000 square foot space, not too small, so we can do all of those compliance. So we can have an ID check-in and secure place that we can store products and cash if need be.
So technically speaking, you may not be on 116th. This is just a hope that you'll be on.
And in fact, 116th is such a robust retail corridor. It's actually very difficult to secure real estate lease there, right? That was our goal and our hope to be on that corridor, but also anywhere, when we say 116th and 3rd, we mean anywhere on 3rd Avenue or anywhere on 116th, not at that intersection itself, which we know is such a robust and profitable, corner right there that's heavily trafficked.
And then the community benefits that you're quoting here, most of these community benefits are already like these are regulations that are already in the regs. Like this isn't something that you're affording on your own. I mean, thank you that you're telling us that you're going to do this.
Yes.
These are things that are going to be required of you anyway, correct?
Well, not as essentially entering a labor peace agreement in Local 338 and hiring locally is not a requirement. That's something that we want to do ourselves. But the tax benefits certainly are already required. But I think by the community board participating in garnishing their approval or support in a cannabis applicant means that there's going to be more revenue, right? So you could say, we're not going to put any of this into our community. That's just going to take away revenue from the community that would otherwise be put in, because whether we like it or not, or whether the community board likes it or not, there's still illicit operations going on in East Harlem, right? And those operations those illicit operations are not committing to the fund. So if you support a licensed retail applicant, that's more money to the public coffers that will then be reinvested into the community.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are supporting these operations that are happening that aren't regulated, but I just find it a little disingenuous when you meet with us and you're saying that these things are going to happen. These things aren't really of your own doing. It's just,
oh no, it
already,
wasn't. Yeah, I don't know if I was being disingenuous. Maybe a strong word, but
I don't mean to say that
yeah.
you are. It just feels that way.
You're right.
And you're the only person who's lived in East Harlem, correct?
That's
and
correct.
Christina lives in the Bronx, and Crystal is from Baltimore.
Correct.
Correct. And then where are you guys? Do you guys already have who's going to be supplying you with the product?
Well, no, we don't have who's going to be supplying us with the product. We've contacted suppliers from in New York. They have about I think the last estimate was about $700 million worth of product in which they've grown in this growth cycle. Now, they don't want to start engaging in conversations with unlicensed dispensaries, right? It's sort of a waste of time. So it's kind of putting the cart before the horse to establish supply chain markets or supply chain for a store. And it may be that the supply, by the time we're up and operating, what we believe would be close to either fall or winter of 2023, that the product that we're talking about right now would be spoiled or no longer consumable to the consumer.
And then when you also
Stephanie, wait, Stephanie, I'm sorry. I'm gonna reel it in a little bit because I want to get to Adem, and I know you had a few questions, but if you just want to give one more question and then we're gonna move on, if you don't mind.
Sure. More questions. Right. So I guess my next question was actually going to be regarding in hiring locally. Are you also considering to hire locally organizations that provide like the security and things of that nature? When you're saying locally, you're not just saying like just your retail people or your bud tenders. You're actually going to be hiring like security teams that are based out of New York or based out of East Harlem, correct?
Right. We have in our staff itself, we have a security person that's budgeted within these 16 people. So there'll be a greeter and or a security staff that checks IDs. All of that stuff will be hired by our team and be full-time employees.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. And thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Raphael, for answering. Adem?
Thank you, Marissa. Hi, I'm Adem. I'm a member of this committee, but I'm also the chair of the licenses and permits committee. So some of these applications will be, or the applications will be coming before my committee. So I'm just trying to understand, because it's all a little bit confusing, not just what you're saying, but with everything that's going on. Is this presentation and this business at the moment like purely aspirational? Like this is if you get a license, when the licenses, because I know they're already did conditional licenses. I assume you didn't apply for one of those. So we're talking about when the next round open up and everyone can apply?
Yeah, so the first round of applications was for individuals that were convicted of a marijuana offense in the state of New York with 2 years business experience. Verde did not qualify for that conditional license, but Verde is a social equity applicant, just a different type of social equity applicants that was granted the first round. So I don't know if we're purely aspirational, because we are incurring expenses for Verde's businesses. We're talking to consultants and business plans, and we're in active negotiations to secure locations, but we are not conducting cannabis transactions at this point, because conducting cannabis transactions would be unlawful.
No, and I didn't mean aspirational in that sense. I just meant,
Okay.
do you have an application already? Did you already submit an application?
No. So
Okay,
30 days before submitting an application, Verde would need to notify the community board. So anybody that was actually operating without notifying the community board at this point, or the municipality, would be not in compliance with the next level of applications. So they're all going to need to come before you, or at least notify the community board of their intent to operate.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So I just want to say thank you guys for presenting my recommendation, and I don't know if this is immediate next steps, but I guess once you get closer to possibly moving forward, obviously to meet with licensing and permit committee, and then, you know, from there, the full board. But I do appreciate you bringing the information forward to us today, you know, and the fact that you have an actual presentation to kind of show some of what you are looking to do and hope to do within the community. You know, as always, and not to say anything against you, but things sound great here. It sounds like a great presentation. I think we just want to make sure that, you know, once we are supporting or, you know, approving someone coming into our community, no matter what the type, no matter what the business, it's a business that's going to give back, that's going to be well run, and that's going to uplift the community however possible. So if there are no other questions, thank you, Verde, for presenting, and we will, the board itself will be in touch with you.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
Thank you. Okay, so Angel, if we could move on. I'm sorry, so Sarah,
I believe, yes.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I just got a notification that the host was asking me to unmute.
Okay, did you have a question about the presentation?
Not specifically a question, but as a community member, I just wanted to state that I have some concerns about, you know, a business like this entering or, you know, opening within that particular area of 116th and 3rd. Is that correct?
That's the proposed location in that vicinity.
Yeah, either 116th Street, somewhere along the corridor, or on 3rd Avenue. But that's the purpose of entering into this dialogue with the community board, right? If there's hesitations for somebody within the community, we'll hear that out, and we'll make we'll consider that in securing our site.
So Sarah, do you have a quick comment about this, only because we are wrapping up this portion of the presentation, but please.
Yes, I think that, you know, given the conditions of that area right now, you know, we all know that there's a huge problem with drug use within the area of 116th, from 3rd all the way to Park. And, you know, as a resident that lives here and has to walk through that area every day, you know, I really wouldn't be able to support something opening in that area. And I wouldn't want that type of business opening there at this current time, given the situation of, you know, how everything else is. And I also want to mention that something that should be considered is how many other similar businesses are in the area, not necessarily dispensaries, but I feel like there is a big saturation of smoke shops within this area, and in particular 3rd Avenue. And maybe this has to do with, you know, these things having to be a certain distance from schools and churches. But I noticed there's a new smoke shop opening on 3rd near like 111, 112th, I believe, which is actually only a couple doors down from another smoke shop and across the street from another smoke shop. So you can stand on the corner and see like 3 or 4. So I just wanted to give my input to the board about my reservations as someone who lives in the community. My children go to school here. We walk through that area every single day. And personally, I don't feel like it's something that's going to be a positive addition to this area at this time.
So Sarah, I just want to thank you. We definitely always want to hear from members of the community, not just members of the board in presenting. I wanted to note too that there are a lot of smoke shops that are just operating illegally. And so, you know, not to take anything away from the number of shops or where they're located, but there are some that are there that are not necessarily in compliance, right? And so I want to take that into consideration as we're thinking about, you know, how many we have in the vicinity within the community, what they're doing and what they're not doing. But I hear your concern. We all are that live in the community are very aware of the conditions of our neighborhood at this point in time, and you know what's going on with you know, our drug challenges. So I just wanted to thank you for making that note and pointing that out, and just to, you know, to also realize that there are businesses that are doing the right things and there are some that are not. And we are all members of this community and are affected in some way or another. So I understand where you're coming from, and I wanted to thank you for noting that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And also, I would just say that if some of those businesses are not operating legally, then perhaps it's something that could be focused on to tackle that issue prior to adding more to the area.
I do think that, and again, not for us necessarily to simply tackle alone, but I do think that the city is looking into that as new businesses that are actually doing the right thing and are looking to open up are moving forward. So I think that that is on the radar and definitely something for us to look into. But to your point, that is definitely an area that needs to be examined a bit more. But thank you. Okay, so we are now
Thank
going
you.
absolutely. We are going to move on to a presentation from Daniel's Music Foundation, and is Bartika?
Hi, yes, I'm
Are you
here.
on? Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
on.
Hi.
Yeah.
How are you? And please, did I say your name right?
Yes, it's Martika Ornella.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'm
Perfect.
Martika Ornella. I'm the grant
Thank you.
writer
Yep, that's
and
fine.
program manager at Daniel's Music Foundation. I just want to introduce our co-founders who are also on the meeting. They're going to present today. It's Daniel and Ken Trush. And so I'm going to just move the floor to them.
Yeah. Thank you, Martika, and thank you everyone for allowing us to introduce ourselves to the community board. We've been in East Harlem now for 10 years, almost 10 years in March. Excuse me, we're on 101st Street and Lexington Avenue on Cicely Tyson Way. We introduced ourselves to the board on the day that the street was dedicated. We provide music programs, free music programs for people with disabilities in the New York City area. We love our location. Daniel is my son. There would be no foundation without him. We started 17 years ago. Why don't you tell everyone what happened and why you love music?
Sure. So back
On March.
on March 9th of 1997, while I was playing basketball at my school gym, one Sunday afternoon, one of my 5 undetected brain aneurysms burst inside my head. I went into a coma, and I was in a coma for 30 days, and I was in the hospital and rehab for a total of 341 days. But who's counting, am I right?
So that day, we went, our family's dynamic changed completely. And where before Daniel's injury, you know, he was told you could be anything you want to be. The world is open to you. And then after Daniel was injured, he was in a wheelchair for 3 years. What did you see?
Yeah, I heard all of those yeses turn to no's. No's I'll never be able to walk again. No's I'll never be able to talk again. No, your son will never be able to see again. No, your son won't have a meaningful life.
And that last line, meaningful life, really got to Nancy, my wife, and I, because everyone deserves to have purpose and meaning in their lives. And so we looked at Daniel as a hero, courageous to survive that assault. And we just, as parents often do, you just sit and be patient and see what happens. So Daniel declared himself into music before your injury.
Yeah, before my injury, I used to play the guitar and the trumpet. And since I've taken up the keyboard and I sing.
I wish we had time for you to hear Daniel sing. He's a really good singer. And he writes his original music. So we went online in 2006 to look for music and disability, and we couldn't find anything. So when you don't see it?
Yeah, when you don't find anything, what do? You start it yourself.
So we started with one keyboard class, right?
Yep, and in 2006, we started with one keyboard class and only 5 musicians. And today we have our very own big, beautiful 8,700 square foot music center in East Harlem.
And we love the community. We went to a number of areas where they didn't want our community there. And East Harlem welcomed us with open arms. And a lot of the residents that have been there since they were born really opened their arms to us. So like Daniel said, it's 8,700 square feet. It was where the MTA was when they were building out the 2nd Avenue subway. We have the whole 2nd floor, and we've dedicated our lives to showing the world the musical talents of people with disabilities, and then just have fun with music programs. So we provide about 50 free music programs a week, over 1,000 a year. We believe that music.
Yeah, we believe that music is a right rather than a privilege, and it should be open to everybody.
And so it's been a great experience. We also we have some private lessons, which we do charge a fee for, and some field trips. And we also have, since the pandemic, we went online. So not only do we serve East Harlem and New York City area, we now are in 25 states around the United States and 9 cities in Canada. We have also something called the Danny.
Yeah, we have something else called the Danny Awards, which is like the Grammys for members of our community.
So we have a call for entry globally. We have a panel of judges that select the winners, and then they perform on Broadway.
Yep, we fly them in.
And so it's really grown. Martika is one of our employees since 2015. She's from the neighborhood. She's been amazing. We have 10 full-time staff and 10 part-time staff. We're here to introduce Daniel's music to the community and to let you know that these services are available for children and adults with disabilities, whether it's in person or online. And we have, right now we're serving, I think Martika told us, over 10%, 22 people in East Harlem, zip codes, and we want to serve more. And we're also, Martika, if you want to jump in with some of the schools that we work with.
Yeah, of course. We serve, that 22 is out of about 200 weekly members who participate in those free group classes. And so 1/10 of that is our residents of East Harlem. We also provide like field trips at our music center for local and far organizations. And within East Harlem, we serve P138M, P79M, the AHRC Fisher Center that's on 125th and Lex. So we are we want to invite more organizations to take, music classes here to, utilize this huge center that we have in East Harlem and, sort of make sure that people know that they have like this arts opportunity that is, local to them.
And every day we see the talents and, for decades and decades in this country, people were isolated and institutionalized. And really, we want to show the world what we see every day is that everyone wants purpose, everyone has meaning, everyone has a gift. And so we've dedicated our family's life to that. When Daniel, the first night, the doctors didn't think he was going to survive. And I made a promise that if he survived, that we would do something positive. And I'm a little stubborn that way. And it's a beautiful experience. And we invite you to come and see what we do. We really would love you to be active with what we do because there's a lot of negativity in the world. And we want to show you that there's goodness in this world as well.
And some of the talent of members of our community.
And it's not just music. Martika, you may want to talk about also the music and socialization aspect and your brother.
Yeah, I mean, I've lived in East Harlem the entirety of my life in America. I moved here when I was 5 from Trinidad. And so I've been here for 27 years now. And so is my brother. He's on the autism spectrum. He plays the piano. And so he has been taking music classes here since 2013, free music classes. He also takes piano lessons here. It's not only the center as a physical space. It's not only a place where you're taking classes. It's really a social hub for people who are neurodivergent, people who are often typically isolated, and so it's a really huge space. And a lot of our members come in earlier than their classes. They hang out here. They sort of plan their days around their programming here. So it's both an arts service that we're providing to the community, but just a sort of, a physical space where a typically sort of socially isolated community can meet.
And you told us during the pandemic you used to walk by, right?
Yes. So I live on 109th and First currently. And so when we were in the remote months, we were constantly walking around. My brother was always walking around. We would sort of walk through to Central Park and pass by here. And so having it open again is really important. Having our members come back post COVID has been really important. And just having the space available is really important to us. So we want to make sure that more people in East Harlem are aware of us. I think we're on 101st, and our entrance is between Lex and 3rd. So I think sometimes people miss us, but there's this like massive space that I think that, not everyone is aware of. And so really getting East Harlem as a community that I'm incredibly familiar with and I'm a part of is really important to have them more aware of us and participating in something that's a really essential resource, I think, in the neighborhood.
And we live on 92nd and 3rd, so we're 9 blocks away. And it's been a real gift to find a place like this. And we just wanted to keep sharing and doing service. So that's it. There's no ask. It's just informational. And we want to thank you for the opportunity to present.
Yep, definitely.
Well, I want to thank you, Daniel. I want to thank you, first of all, because there would be no organization without your courage and, your strength. So I want to thank you for even having this be a beacon of light for the community. And thank you for being here to present. And also Martika and Ken, thank you for supporting him in this effort and bringing this to light. So thank you guys. I also want to connect you with the Office of Disabilities for the city. I feel like this would be great for you guys to connect with them, for them to also connect services to your organization as they think about different ways, for people to connect, uptown, right? And what are all the services that we have? And music is an equalizer, and it's a connector. I went to a music and art high school, and so very appreciative of the arts in every way. I also want to note that we have several museums here, and so not sure if there are tours that you do or tours that can be offered. We have people from El Museo on, the Africa Center, and so hoping that there are some connections that can also be made through this call, which is part of what the community board meetings are also about in terms of connecting with community members and people that can help either through service, and or be a connector and supporter of organizations. So I am extremely happy to hear about what you guys are doing. I've not been to the center, but I will definitely stop by. I'm hoping that you guys have a website and or flyer that you can drop within the chat and then also share with us as well. There are a number of different ways that we can connect you with, different organizations within the community. I think it would also be great for you to talk to our youth in education. Not that you guys are just focused on youth per se, but they would be a wonderful committee for you guys to also present to as well. So just wanting to share that with you and thank you guys for presenting this gift that you have here in our community.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
just want to add one more thing. We do a lot of disability awareness presentations as well, because our community is often misunderstood. And we do over 50 a year. So if there's any opportunity, it's about an hour presentation. And we either do it on site, and sometimes there's a volunteer opportunity with our members. We also go off site. We also do it online. And we talk about the history of disability. We do it in a light way. Danny sings a song. So it's not just myth, it's actual voice. And on our website, you can go and hear Daniel singing.
I was gonna say, Danny, it sounds like you need to have a concert for the community. We're gonna have to see what we can do there, but thank you. Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
And
so much.
so proud of Daniel and so proud of our staff. Martika, been around for almost 8 years now. And we just want to keep it going.
Thank you guys so much for presenting and bringing this. Really a joy to have you. And we will continue to connect. I believe you have Angel Muscane, our district manager, and our liaison to this meeting's information. But we will be in contact with you about, other ways to help and support you in this foundation and endeavor.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to open, are there any questions or comments from anyone before we move on with the agenda? Okay, well, thank you guys so much from the committee and from the board. Thank you for
You're
presenting, and we will
welcome.
be in contact. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night. Okay, we are moving on. Okay, we have a full agenda this evening. Okay, so next we have Eugene. I know that we spoke previously on the cultural district and what that looks like. So if we have a presentation about, what are the next steps, I think that you may want to take and how you want to move this along, that would be extremely helpful. So we're going to open up the floor to you.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Angel has my PowerPoint presentation. I'd like him to call it up, please. Angel? In the interim, usually when we come to community board meetings, we sit down and talk about problems in the neighborhood. Today, I'd like to talk about some opportunities, specifically an opportunity to create Brown Broadway. Angel? Is Angel on? Angel?
I'm getting your presentation. Give me a minute.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
In the interim, I'm president of the El Barrio Theater Group. Very, what I call, you've heard of low budget theater. I have no budget theater. So we depend on the kindness of strangers to be able to produce theater in the neighborhood. We've been successful over the last 4 or 5 years to present three productions in 3 different theaters in the neighborhood, which not only showcase my work, which I let speak for me, but it also showcased 3 theaters in the neighborhood that people didn't know about. Are we ready yet, Angel? Please.
I'm working on it. I didn't have it ready, so just give me 2 more seconds and I'll.
Yeah, no, man. Well, basically, let me give you some stats. Tourism and entertainment in New York City is a growth industry, but there is very little or no growth in tourism or entertainment in East Harlem. A survey conducted by the East Harlem Business Council concluded that there is no nightlife in El Barrio and estimated that over 800 million a year is spent by community people outside of the neighborhood. So
So Eugene, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think we have your presentation
Yes,
here.
yes.
Wasn't sure if what you were saying was part of that, so I'm gonna let you go.
Yeah, this is the El Barrio Theater Group's proposal. El Barrio Theater District project is a 5-year theater-based economic development plan that will create a uniquely Latino theater district. And you're going too fast here, Papa. Creating Brown Broadway. This is the Julia de Burgos Center. This is the Hexas. This is the Hexa Theater, El Theater, 600-seat Bowax Theater on 103rd Street across from Cultural Gardens. This is the, can you slow it down? This is the Julia de Burgos Theater, which we now call the Miriam Colón Valle Center. This is the Tato La Viera Theater in Taino Towers, 300 seats in this one. Next. And this is the Poets Den Theater on 108th Street, which is closed now because of handicap accessible. But this is a beautiful 99-seat privately owned theater that we can use just to present poetry shows. Next. The plan, we would like to negotiate affordable rents with the city for all 4 theaters that I just talked about and 2 others. We plan to tailor rehabilitation and modernizations of each theater, rehab them, develop and produce new plays and events, which is what my company is going to be trying to do, and fundraise to endow the entire district in perpetuity. The way I see we do this is by having a play in the big theater at the Museo del Barrio, 600 seats, that is so successful that we can move it to Broadway. And then more Broadway can in turn send the profits back. I say this because Chorus Line began in the Hexa Theater on 103rd Street and now funds the public theater, has been funding the public theater for almost 30 years. And Chorus Line is still making money someplace in the planet. So 10% of the money that Chorus Line makes goes back to the public theater, which is the same thing that Lin-Manuel did when he produced Hamilton at the public theater. So that show is also pumping 10% of its profit back to the public theater. And we want to ensure local economic impact by working closely with local businesses to so we can share back and forth a symbiotic relationship with the local businesses. So people who come to the theater can either go to one of these businesses in the neighborhood before or after. Next one. The Hexa Theater is 600-seat El Museo del Barrio on 5th Avenue, 100 city owned. We will negotiate with the city to use this facility rent-free for at least 5 years. The Julia de Burgos Center, also owned by the city, we will negotiate rent-free there for at least 5 years also. Next. The Tato La Viera Theater, this is a 300-seat theater at the foot of the Triborough Bridge, by the way, which means that all the cars in the world have to pass by that facility and you can advertise whatever you have in the theater there. And we will identify, we want the city to help us identify public and private sector sponsors with the goal of renting this facility for at least 5 years also. Lastly, Poets Den Theater. This is a 99th Street Black Box Theater at 309 East 108th Street, also privately owned. And we would like to identify a public and private sector sponsor to rent this theater for 5 years. So we have 4 theaters right here where the city owns 2 of them and can give us those facilities rent-free, or like they've been doing for many years for $1. And then we can get people to come in and produce shows in there on a 24/7 basis. Next. Rehabilitating the theater. LBG plan of action calls for outsourcing inspection of each theater. Work with New York City state and city agencies to allocate capital funds for the work required. Turn each theater into a state-of-art facility for live performances. And then we can then coordinate multimedia productions for broadcasting, TV, and streaming. You got to know also that there's TV studio on 106th Street in the neighborhood with an uplink to the satellite where we can showcase the products from the theaters around the world. Next. Rehabilitating the theater. The Heckscher Theater is pretty good shape. They have spent $10–15 million in this space to put in a music pit, new lighting. They redid the whole theater, but they haven't spent a single dime on productions. So while the theater is in great shape, nothing is going on there. And you can tell by El Barrio was here the other day. They didn't say anything about doing anything in the theater, which I mean, this if you've been in that theater, you know it should be operating all the time. The Julia de Burgos Cultural Center, which is the Miriam Colon Valley Playhouse, they need better seating. If you've ever sit in there, it's like sitting on a razor blade with those iron chairs. We need better lighting and sound, seating, and outdoor signage to promote the space. Next. The Red Carpet Theater is in fair shape, also needs better seating, and we need to assist them in acquiring lighting, sound, seating, and outdoor signage also. Like I said, foot of the Triborough Bridge, you have free advertising. If you could just put a sign out there saying, coming next, Gene Rodriguez's wonderful East Side Story. I mean, it's free advertising. The Poets Den Theater is in pretty good shape, but it's not handicap accessible, and we need to help that theater be open again. This is a beautiful theater. I don't know if anybody's been in there, but I put on a show in there, and oh Jesus, I fell in love with the space. And it doesn't need a whole lot of work because they've already done a lot of work. Next slide, please. Programming. Our goal is to provide programming for all 4 theaters, actually 6 theaters, for 5 days a week through co-production agreements with writers, producers, directors, and small theater companies. In close collaboration with El Repertorio Español, we will establish an in-house page to the stage writers workshop to develop at least 12 plays a year for production. The reason I say 12 is because you can do a showcase production without having to pay union wages. So we can do 4 weekends in each theater. And so we would need, like my company, I can do maybe 1 or possibly 2 productions a year. But I know 6 or 7 other people that can do 1 or 2 productions a year also. We need to bring all those folks in, say, look, we have this theater, you know, rent free. If you can get a show up, we'll give you time to put it up. And one thing I've learned about theater, a bad show makes more money than no show. And you never know which is going to be the bad show, because you never know what the audience is going to say until the show is actually up and people see it. You don't know what the audience's reaction is going to be, which is why we need to give playwrights, actors, writers, directors, lighting, sound, some time to showcase their work so that they can then understand the relationship between the playwright and the audience and work on that. And that way they can become better playwrights and produce better work. We will also develop a group of theater professionals, directors, playwrights, actors, to support in-house productions. I mean, once you get in there, you need, if you find a playwright that has a show that he wants to do, we should be able to pair him with a director, find him some actors to work with, and have technicians available to them so that they could put on a show. Next slide. Programming theater, like I said, the Poets Den Theater, we should showcase 12 to 24 productions a year. That would be either 4 weeks or 2 weeks. A new show or film every 2 weeks. The most popular shows to be moved to the Julia de Burgos Theater. The Julia de Burgos, or should I change the name of it to the Miriam Colon Valley Playhouse, to produce 12 experimental 1-month showcases a year. Again, 12 performances, a showcase. The most popular shows to be enhanced and moved to the Red Carpet Theater. Next. The Tato La Viera Theater, which used to be the Red Carpet, please forgive me. I did my first production in there when it was the Red Carpet. We will produce 4 enhanced. What I mean by enhanced is you can do a showcase with very little sets, very little things off-site. very minimal stage, like I've done theater with just a table and 4 chairs. But when you get to a big theater with 300 seats in it, you're going to need to have a backdrop, library, bar, the whole thing. And that's what I mean by enhanced. It would be enhanced sets. And after 12 performances, the writer pretty much knows the best parts in his show, and they will cut it or add so that you have a very tight production. The Hexa Theater, or El Teatro, as El Barrio, the theater, El Museo del Barrio calls it, 1 or 2 full productions a year, which that would be 6 months for 2, and any standing room only show to be taken on the road or moved to Broadway. Next. The main objective will be to use the smaller theaters in the district to identify, produce, and develop off-Broadway quality shows that can fund the district in perpetuity. We aim to encourage new theatrical and entertainment venues in the neighborhood to spring up. Like I just saw the People's Theater wants to enhance their space so that they can produce shows in there. I've seen two facilities at Scan that can be used as theaters, especially for youth productions. And there are some vacant lots where theaters can be produced if we have the money. And we aim to encourage new theatrical entertainment, and that's what, I'm sorry. And we plan to work closely with Lehman's, Hostos, Boricua College acting departments to identify talent. There's plenty of talent in the community in terms of directors, writers, and actors. And there are plenty of theaters in the community that have no programming. So if we can merge the talent with the theater, we'll have something. Next slide, please. We will introduce the best US, Latin American, Spanish, and Hispanic American theaters in quality productions to attract an audience to El Barrio from the tri-state area and across the country. We plan to coordinate publishing products, both printed and via e-readers, in association with El Centro and Estudios Puertorriqueños at Hunter College, New York. We also aim to make theater accessible to the classroom and install cultural pride, promoting self-awareness and the riches of multiculturalism in the theater in general and El Barrio in particular. Next shot. Broadway facts. I think we can pass this one. Next one. El Barrio facts. I think we can pass this one also. And that ends my presentation. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and I'm open to anybody that has a suggestion to help me make this happen. Thank you.
Eugene, thank you so much for presenting, on what the theater district for this area specifically can look like. I know this is something that is passionate for you, and I appreciate that you've done some research, some of it just because you know the area and the district, and other information I know you've had to actually look up. So thank you for presenting that to us. So I have 2 quick questions for you. One just being in terms of the funding for this, and I was trying to follow, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but you would use so there are how many that are city theaters right now, or theaters that the city that's covered under the city out of the 6?
Yeah, the city owns the theater at El Museo del Barrio, El Teatro. It also owns the theater at the Julia de Burgos, which is the Miriam Colón Valley Playhouse.
So two of those you would ask to continue to operate however they can, put shows on from there and use that revenue to help support the other theaters, or how are you thinking about this in terms of revenue stream and putting on the actual plays?
Well, the revenue stream that I see happening would go to the small companies that produce shows in the theater. We can, if we're going to negotiate with the city about it, we can enter into a relationship percentage-wise over how much the theater would make over any production they put on in any of these theaters, and how much the theater would make. So we would like to get some money back, to have a fund to be able to move shows around. But unless we put on a show ourselves, I don't see how we can do that unless we get to the big theaters, which are the 300-seat Tato La Viera and the 600-seat. That theater is as big as the Apollo. When you get a show 600 seats and you filling that show up, now you're making enough money to move the show to Broadway.
Right, and I apologize. I think my question too was like a little bit too granular for right now. You know, and I'm getting into like the weeds of it and just thinking completely. But like overall, the concept sounds great. I think I would want to know, what do you anticipate next steps, right? Besides involving, you know, the New York City Theater District, besides involving, you know, the Office of Media for New York City. Like, what would your next steps be for this initiative?
Right now, I think you need to get into a conversation with the New York City Economic Development Corporation. They should be working on this plan. I also think the New York City Cultural Affairs we should be speaking with them about providing some funds for the artistic side. So basically, I'm saying Economic Development Corporation should pick up the rent. Think about this: if we give $5,000 grants to 12 playwrights, that's only $60,000. The Cultural Affairs should set up a fund to be able to do that.
So I want to say, I think at a higher level right now, you may just want to say who should be at the table, besides just saying who should specifically be doing what. I think that might be a more palatable conversation than this, you know, this entity needs to do this and this one needs to do that. But I think at least like identifying the players and the people that should be involved in the conversation would be the start of this, and then building out from there. And so I think those two organizations are great, and there may be more for us to add. So I will speak with you, you know, like about that, and then see like how we can build it out. But I definitely, to your point, I agree that EDC and Cultural Affairs at minimum would be the organizations that would be at the table to discuss further.
Yeah, as you might already know, I've been working with Assemblyman Gibbs, and talking to him about it. I've also been working with the councilwoman, who's been wonderful, and she's been telling me that she's provided some money to the Hispanic Federation so that they could set up a mentoring program at the Julia, which is great news, and I hope it really comes through. We've had meetings with we had a meeting with Senator
Serrano.
I met with Senator Serrano on a number of times, but also the federal senator, he just got made the head of the Senate. He has responded actually by putting the Save Our Stages program as a federal one, which maybe we should look into that also. So I've been talking to the political side of it, but right now, like I say, I think the two organizations in the city, we should be talking with them.
Okay. All right. I want to open it up, Jenny, and then Giselle.
Thanks. Hi. So this all sounds really great. I am somebody who has a lot of experience in arts administration, and also have two actors in my family, my husband and my son, excuse me, who goes to the same school that Marissa graduated from as well. So my question to you is, especially from just kind of a business perspective, this sounds like a huge operational challenge. So I'm wondering your perspective on, are you thinking it's kind of like all four theaters or nothing? If there was only one that you had to choose, which would it be? Why do all four at once rather than do one as kind of a proof of concept and build on it? Just sharing anything about your approach there would be really helpful, and also helpful for us in thinking about how to help you pitch this to the various stakeholders.
Thank you for your question, Jenny. Very good question. I have been producing theater in the neighborhood to showcase the facilities. We did one at the Julia de Burgos which went very well. We did one at the PS 109, and we did one at the Black Box Theater on the 3rd floor to showcase those facilities. I do believe in starting small. That's why I think it's a 5-year program. So in the first year, I would like to have the Julia de Burgos up and running. The second year, we can, while we're working on the first year, we can work on getting the Poets Den, the handicap accessibility, and maybe opening that one in the second year. Those 2 theaters will then supply programming for the next 2, which would be the Julia, the Taino Towers Theater, which is 600 seat. And then if we do well in that theater, we'll move it to 600 seat theater in the 4th or 5th year of the program. So we have to rehab some of these spaces, not a whole lot, but we do have to rehab some of them, and then provide programming for them. So it's a 5-year stretched out thing.
Okay, I will say that's still very ambitious, even over 5 years.
Very
Like if you can get one going in 5 years, I'd be like, this is, you just accomplished a huge amount, just knowing a little bit about what it takes to run a theater. My second question is, if you are open to programming outside of everything that you mentioned. So just my husband, for example, is improviser. He's been in the comedy improv universe for over 20 years. I actually know of quite a few improv people who are both in Harlem and East Harlem, who would always love to have a Black Box space. Like honestly, and also from knowing a lot about improv theaters and the way that that's run, the way that those theaters are supported is through holding classes, selling drinks, all of these things, even if they don't come directly from the shows, even if most of the revenue is then coming directly from the shows. So there's a kind of like diversification of revenue sources that's embedded in the kind of artistic programming that the theater's open to. And I was wondering how open you were to that, both for selfish reasons, because, I would, but also out of concern for making sure that these are viable businesses from the moment you open to the moment you're able to send that show off to Broadway.
A very good question again. There used to be a comedy show at the Julia de Burgos once a month. My cousin used to run it, and then my son did. When they raised the rents, the comedy show went away. The point I'm saying is that once you open the theater for productions, like let's say my productions are usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That leaves Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for comedy shows, poetry shows, any other kind of thing. And once the theater is open, you can then put on the comedy show at the same way we put on regular theater, which means, by the way, that you can actually make money. Because the one thing about doing a comedy show that I know, because I put them on, is that you usually make your money at the bar if you have a relationship with them, or you pay most of the money to rent. Right. So half of your money goes to rent, the other half goes to pay the comics, and you end up with maybe $100. So if they didn't have to pay the rent and somebody gave them some pre-production money, they would then be able to make money and continue to then produce. That's the item. They have to make money in the first place so that they can continue to produce in the neighborhood.
I'm gonna just jump in quickly, just because I do want to move it along. Jenny, did you just have one other question, or were you?
Nope.
No. Okay, perfect. Thank you for adding in your expertise in this space, and then also just thinking through what this looks like. Giselle, your comment or question?
Yes, Jenny, thank you for that question, because that was my second question too. A lot of people ask me for comedy shows. Is there any comedy shows around here besides the Apollo? I don't know where to send them. But
comedy in Harlem. Comedy, I will say comedy in Harlem. Yes. They're there now. Yes.
But yes, that's a question that I get asked a lot, and it would be nice to send them somewhere local. My first question was, I know that you mentioned like some time ago that you were interested or you needed the support in naming El Barrio like a cultural theater district. And I think that was like to kind of help you in some way with the grants that the new mayor had come out with when it came to like revitalizing the arts and culture in the city. Is there any progress with that? Is that still an ask, or would that help you in any way?
Well, the reason I requested the cultural district wasn't necessarily to just help me. Designating it a cultural district gives people access to state funds, not just for theater, but for all of the arts. And that's why I worked with Senator Serrano to designate arts and culture as economic development, so that once you get a cultural district, economic development proposals can go to the state. What else did you want to know? Did I answer your question?
No, yeah, I mean, I just thought it was like a specific ask.
Oh, yeah, yes,
that,
I'm sorry. It still has to, they still need a state sponsor. And so I'm gonna try to talk with Senator Serrano about supporting Gibbs's bill and get the designation in the community, because I know down the road, they're gonna designate cultural districts across the state. We should be in on it too.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Eugene. I did see Sarah, you had your hand up, and then Adam.
Yes, thank you. My first thought kind of reiterates what Jenny said in regards to that. This looks like a very bold plan. And I was just going to make one suggestion of kind of trying to narrow it down to maybe one of city-owned theaters as a start. And I was just going to give a little input that perhaps as part of your negotiation power for the rent-free part of the theater, particularly for the ones for the city, excuse me, is if you develop a plan to offer either a certain percentage or a certain number of tickets per year for free to people in the community that are of a lower income status. So I'm sure that could probably be achieved through, partnering with maybe middle schools or high schools to offer, like public schools, to offer families that go to those schools tickets, or somehow providing a way to give people of lower income access, because I really love this idea and this plan, and I think it's very much what this area needs to create almost an artistic buzz in the community that draws people in and, invigorates the community financially. But I think that when you're asking for something for free from the city, you should also be able to really show what you're giving back. And I think a great way to do that would be to offer, tickets for less advantaged people in the community.
Thank you for that question. First of all, if you give me the theater without rent, I can then charge a very small fee to the show. So my shows are $25. And for seniors, I give them a $5 discount, and youth get $5 discounts also. So for $20, which I don't think is an exorbitant amount, you get a great show. Actually, you get an off-Broadway show when you come to one of mine. I hate to brag, but I am a great off-Broadway playwright. And I have the newspaper clippings to prove it. So yeah, I actually agree that we have to do something like that. And we've been doing it for the last 5 years in our productions. We would love to give classes to youth kids, but the best class you can give a young person that wants to be an actor is to put them on stage. You learn more in one production on stage than you do going to 4 years of college.
So thank you, Sarah, for that. No, and Eugene, thank you for that. And I think that's, as we continue on conversations, definitely something to consider. And then Adem, quickly, Jessica, I'm going to have to yield to you right now because we're trying to move on. It's already 8:30 and we have 2 more presentations. So Adem is going to be our last comment on this matter, and then we're going to have to move on. But Adem, please.
Thank you. Forgive me if you already answered this, Eugene, but In your presentation, it said you were going to create this Latino theater district by programming in the 4 existing theaters in the community. Do you know where these theaters stand on this proposal?
Well, once you rent them, what do they have to say? So I'm offering them an offer they can't refuse. Give me the rent. I'll give you the 2 theaters that are not city owned. We're trying to get a corporate sponsor to pay the rent for 5 years and let us have access to the theater. The quiet as it's kept, the Taino Towers currently has an organization in there, the Harlem Repertory Company, which has rented the theater for 5 or 6 years. I don't know whether they're still there, but under that agreement, the Taino Towers is very happy to have the space rented, and anybody in the community would be happy to have their theater rented for 5 years.
Thank you.
So I think from this, and always wanting to think about like what next steps are, Eugene, we can see how we set up a meeting with EDC and then the Cultural Affairs a division of the city at minimum to at least, have you be in front of them. We can talk about, what this looks like, what next steps may be, who might be some other stakeholders that want to be engaged with this. I do think starting small, obviously you have the big plan, which definitely don't want to minimize your dream of what this looks like. But I do think, maybe starting out with the 2 smaller, theaters might be best, but next steps would definitely be setting up a call to see, what this looks like in terms of moving forward for the community, if you agree.
Yeah, I've been doing that in the small steps. Like I said, we did a production at the theater at the Julia de Burgos and some of the black boxes to showcase what's available. The people that came, I had people come from Texas to see one of my shows.
So what would you like next steps to be?
Like I said, we need to sit down. We need to sit down with talk with the 2 city agencies. It would also be helpful to have the Hispanic Federation sit at the table so I can beat up on them a little bit.
All right, I'll close my eyes while you beat up on them, but we'll do that as next steps. Okay, perfect. So we are going to move along. Thank you, Eugene, so much for presenting. We appreciate it. Thank you for being a member of this committee as well and having your passion in this area. Definitely appreciate the arts and what is to come. So thank you for presenting. Angel, if you could share what is next. I think we have, is it okay? Right, so we have youth construct. Alexis and Eva, are you here to present quickly? Okay, are they not on?
Yes.
Oh,
we're ready.
Okay. Oh, hi, Alexis. Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Good.
Good.
Okay, did you guys have anything to share? Did you just want to talk to your request?
I'd love to share.
Okay.
Am I allowed to share?
Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully you have the share screen.
Well, let me first lower my hand.
Okay.
And I'm looking for the share screen. Showing as a panelist, I think, yes.
Angel, is Alexis set up to share?
She is now.
Okay. So Alexis, let us know if you, okay, got it. Okay, we see it.
Okay. First of all, can you hear me? Oh, wait.
Yeah.
There, now you can see me.
Yes, and see you. Right, yes, hi.
It's nice to see you guys again.
Nice to see you. Nice to see
All right.
you, Alexis. Thank you.
Thank you so much for letting us do a quick presentation. Again, we love you guys. Alexis of Bottom Line Construction and Development. You know that Eva is our treasurer on Youth Construct, and that's our nonprofit arm. We are located in Harlem. We have, let me fix this. I want to, you know what I want to do, right? I want to just show you one slide. Here we go, and move to the bottom. All right.
Go to slide share.
Yep. Okay. So do you guys recognize this site? This is right on 126th Street on the southwest corner at an Artemis site. So these are our kids. I'm the founder of Youth Construct. We are located right here in Harlem. Sorry about that. Next. Okay. So can you guys see that? My screen looks a little funky, but I'm hoping you can see it. So basically, we are exposing young people, high school students, 11th and 12th graders to the ACED space, which is architecture, construction, engineering, and development. We're located in Harlem. Our kids come from all over. However, we do have statistics on the kids that are located in CB11. And we thought that you might be interested because the last time I spoke to you guys, we had only had one cohort with 40 applicants. And this cohort, we now have 90 applicants. We accepted 25 kids. This is a huge achievement as well as an undertaking. And I'm not sure, I think Eva was very clear that we're here for this quick presentation to ask for a letter of support. So I should have told you that from the beginning. So just to give you a rough understanding of CB11, it actually pans out to be, out of the 90 applicants, 10 were from CB11, 17 went to school in CB11, and out of the 25 we took, and we really wanted to take more, but we financially couldn't, but out of the 25, 3 live in CB11 and 7 actually go to school in CB11. So we really are committed to trying to get more CB11 students involved. We provide about 50 hours of training. It's about an 8-month course. It involves on-site training, which is where I'm at, which is where I was waiting to speak to you guys at CPC. CPC is Community Preservation Corp. They are CDFI focusing on affordable housing. So they actually let us bring our kids here every week and every other week for what they call lab. So we meet here every week for 2.5 hours, and lab is about an hour. We expose them with industry professionals from AECOM, Turner, Artemis, us, Bottom Line Construction. We just had a construction insurance owner come and speak with them and do breakout sessions. So it was really interesting, believe it or not, insurance. So basically, they attend classes, formal training for about 8 months. They develop definitely transferable skills. This is not brick and mortar, but we do have kids that engage in brick and mortar. Actually, Artemis hired some, as a matter of fact, from our summer internship. But we encourage them to just understand how the overall ACED space works, especially these kids that are in our communities that are seeing their built environment go up, but not being a part of it. So we're passionate about that. They get their OSHA 40 and their SST, so they're allowed to be on site. They get their notary, which is very transferable, it's as well as the OSHA. They get a stipend throughout the program, $1,000. We provide meals. They also get paid internship at the end of their program. And we follow them throughout that internship. We meet every 2 weeks with their supervisors as well as the students. We started the program in 2019, just from my company hiring interns from, like, I'm sure you're all familiar with the SYEP program, Catholic Charities, just trying to expose kids from a passion that comes from my background. And it turned into, as you see, the next step, which was sort of an internship, 3 months full-time. You know, we're on the Victoria Theater project. We were able to expose them to that. We're at punch list now, so they should have a ribbon cutting soon. But we were able to expose them to that because during the pandemic, we were working on the affordable housing side. So we had 3 students from that. Then we went on to class of 2021, much more structured, was able to get help from Columbia. They loaned us an awesome MBA student, thank God. And she was very helpful in getting us just a tighter curriculum so that like really great people like you would be like, oh, this might work. So that was really cool. Then we went on to 2022. You see, we grew. So this class, we started out with about 20. And this class was a little tough, everybody, because it was right when Omicron hit and they were all supposed to be in person. And it wound up being like this hybrid, Zoom. It was tough, but we made it. They graduated over the summer. About 13 graduated. And as you see the stats right here, 2 were hired into full-time positions and few went on to do college. A couple went on to do actual union apprenticeships. So we're really excited about that. And now we're here and we're the class, this is the second cohort, 2023. And like I said, we got 90 applicants. So they took that time to fill out the application and it's not an easy feat. We vet them really tough because we want to make sure that we're not adding to, if students are struggling, we can't, we want to make sure we have balance for them and we're not causing them to do poorly in school. So right now we just finished our 8th class. They left. So basically what we really need from you is a letter of support. And I know we don't have a lot of time. Marissa was very clear on that. So I'm not going to keep you, but Marissa, if you want, I can read the letter of support. Is whatever.
I think if you could just summarize, what, obviously we know that we would be writing a letter to continue to support, your services with the youth, but maybe if you just want to summarize just basically what it's saying, I think that would be sufficient, especially because we did offer a letter of support previously.
Yes, you did.
So,
you did.
yes,
You did.
yes.
Okay, so we're much more structured now. We're getting better and better. And we really need financial support. We need in-kind support, but now we're really starting to put in for grants. We were really lucky and we benefited from the West Harlem Development Grant for a second time. So that was huge. So now we're at a point where we just need to fill out a few more grants so that we can keep ahead of things. We'd like to grow the program. The 25 students was great, but we've just realized that with the 90 that really took the time to put in a full application, that our community needs more exposure. And these kids, they see buildings going up around them all the time and they have no connection to what goes into developing a building, what goes into all of the work behind the scenes, not just the brick and mortar. So a lot of our students are exposed to the brick and mortar, but they're not exposed to project management, quality control, expediting. You don't even need a degree to expedite. You need to hustle. So these are the types of things we want to expose them to because they're lucrative professions. And some of these organizations send them to college while they're working. So basically this letter of support is basically just to get funding and to get more exposure. And so that basically sums it up in a nutshell.
Well, thank you, Alexis, for coming before us. I have seen your organization grow and I'm seeing you all over and I'm seeing partnerships with all different community-based organizations, for-profit, not-for-profit. So I'm happy to see that. I saw that you did a golf fundraiser with Latoya, which was great.
And Strive.
Yes, and Strive.
Strive last week, we got an award. That was nice. Yeah.
I do want to put on the table, I just want to open up for any questions that our committee
Sure.
community
Thank you. Thank you. I know you squeezed us in.
No, absolutely. That's fine. If there are no questions, then I would like to ask if there is a motion to support a letter of support to Youth Construct to continue programming. So Eugene?
Okay.
You're muted.
You're muted.
I'd like to make a motion to provide a letter of support for the group.
Thank you.
And then do I have a second? Jessica, you're seconding?
Oh, Jessica,
Yes, I'm seconding the motion. Thanks.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Angel, if call the roll, please.
Sure. Stephanie Arroyo. April Autry,
Yes.
Adem Briha,
Yes.
Devin Cronshaw,
Yes.
Jewel Jones,
Yes.
Marissa Mack,
Yes.
Giselle Malave,
Yes.
Jennifer Meyer,
Yes.
Jessica Morris,
Yes.
Robert Perez, here, Eugene Rodriguez,
Yes.
Vinnie Torres, not here, Jenny Tromsky,
Yes.
the motion carries.
Yes, and I think Stephanie was trying to unmute and speak, but Stephanie, did you want to?
Yes, yes, I said yes, sorry, it's just I'm
Okay.
having internet issues, guys, sorry.
No problem. Okay, great. Thank you, Angel. And so we will be able to provide that letter to you.
Thank you.
Alexis.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And please tell Eva hello for us as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, and so our last presentation this evening, I believe, is from the Africa Center.
Yes, hello, good evening.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good.
I understand that you have all been here for quite some time. It's been a long night since 6:30 or so. So I'm going to dive right into our presentation. I'm going to actually share my screen and give a presentation, but first I will introduce myself.
Perfect, thank you.
So I'll introduce myself. I'll talk through what it is we're trying to present or accomplish as an organization, and then I'll hand it back over to the general audience for any questions that you may have. So first and foremost, hello, my name is Chinny Obinro. I am the Chief Operating Officer of the Africa Center. We also have our Chief Programs Officer, Alana, who is on the call as well, but I will be doing the initial part of the presentation. I'm sure that you are all, excuse me, relatively familiar with our Chief Executive Officer, Uzo Iwala, who presented back in October, and Alana and I were also on that call. Excuse me, I am so sorry. So my children have passed on their school sickness to me. So excuse me if my voice goes a little froggy or croaky during this presentation. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to talk through some of the work that we have done, but this is all towards giving you guys a solid understanding of what we would like to do moving forward in the future, in hopes that you're able to provide a letter of support for us as we move forward with our capital campaign. So I'm going to share on PowerPoint now. Awesome. Please just nod your head if you're able to see my screen. Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to go into full PowerPoint mode, and I won't go through everything, each and every slide in great detail, but I do want to review some of the things we talked about back in October, and then talk about what we're looking to do in the very near future with our community campaign. So just as a reminder for anybody who doesn't know what we're doing at the Africa Center, we are elevating the transformative influence of African ideas and communities across business, policy, and culture. We are transforming the world's understanding of Africa, of the African diaspora, and the contributions of people of African descent. But I think this language is very nice. What does it mean concretely? It really means that we are we serve as a platform that elevates African voices. We generate research, we create new partnerships, and we drive a lot of change through the different sorts of discourse and the discussions that we create. And we're really looking to bring together ideas and to enhance the effect of a number of different initiatives across business, policy, and culture. But what have we done in the very recent past? So in terms of our programming, since launching our public programming in 2019, we've been able to engage over 152,000 visitors, and this is on a very slim budget and with very limited space. Our full building's capacity is about 75,000 square feet, but right now we're only using a small portion, I believe about 10,000 square feet of that between our Taranga restaurant space and our exhibition space. In this picture, what you're looking at, what you see is our current States of Becoming exhibition that we have in our exhibition spaces. And we've had a steady stream of visitors of schools asking to come to see the exhibition, and generally of people within the community looking to better understand what the experience of people who have come from Africa and moved to the US are. So that's the current exhibition going on, but generally our diverse offerings span 190 or over 190 African performances, installations, talks, book signings, and film screenings, excuse me. So just to go a bit more quickly, in terms of our 2021 programming, you can see through our little schedule of events here of what we did in the past. We have put on these programs on African immigrants in New York City, Hope, Fear, and Trust, African Leaders in Science and the COVID vaccine. Moving forward into 2022 and what we've done in this present year, we've had a number of engagements across, again, business, policy, and arts and culture. I talked about the States of Becoming exhibition, but also to highlight that in September during the United Nations General Assembly, we've been able to partner with organizations like the MasterCard Foundations, like the UN Development Program, to put on programs around healthcare, thinking of a new way to partner on healthcare for the African continent and the African diaspora to ensure that when we think of how to help Africa and people of African descent, we're not engaging in a manner that is saying, oh, look at these poor people, or look at this from a very negative light. Instead, we're thinking, how can we have humane and respectful partnerships in which we're recognizing what the continents can bring and what other partners might be able to bring and collaborate together. So just to give you a very quick sense of what we've done in 2020, since 2019, 2020, 2021, and looking into 2022. In our very near future, we have completed the final phase of an African Policy Institute that focuses on 3 of our themes, which are habitable spaces, technology for humanity, and prosperous youth. And what we mean by these is really the center, the intersection of business and policy. So how are we ensuring that people on the continent and people of African descent are able to engage in this huge startup and technology space, potentially become entrepreneurs, but very much engage in technology in a way that is, once again, respectful, that is additive, that is more on the social impacts side of the spectrum, as opposed to simply trying to be another unicorn that is doing whatever it wants and not necessarily considering the people and the impact it has. So that's one of the upcoming things that we're looking to do. And of course, we continue our community and impact. So just a very brief overview of what we've done up till this point in time. But looking forward, what we're in the midst of right now is very much our capital campaign. We're beginning to spearhead the vision, the mission, and the impact of the Africa Center as a physical space to foster community, and also as, I guess, as a platform, as a networked institution that's able to bring together these different organizations and programs from throughout the world, and really looking at it as a shared meeting space. How do we develop a community-centered space that allows for easy access to use of the Africa Center's public spaces? So we're currently putting together our documents and our different applications, specifically right now, the new market tax credits applications for building out the physical space itself. And just to give you a sense of some of the renderings of what we've had, of course, the building itself is already constructed, but how are we outfitting the internal construction of the building to make sure the space is, for example, open to the community, for giving lectures, for educating, for ensuring that children have the right supportive programs and activities that they're able to engage in. And these renderings, of course, there are a vision of what we can do with the space for the future. But I think it's important to note that we are already engaging in many of these programs beginning in January for our States of Becoming exhibition. We have a number of schools that are going to be coming to the space to engage in more, education, learning, and just expanding their horizon around what it means to be African or of African descent, and a number of different research data and educational aspects that go with that. Of course, along with our historical background of being the Museum for African Arts, you can still see that we are not moving too far from that. We certainly have space dedicated to that. So what we're asking for now is simply a letter of support. I believe that we have a template of the letter of support in the chat box, but we want to highlight the fact that the tax credits that we're receiving, the money that that is going toward building this, building out the internal works of our center. It's not just the city or the government, the city or the states providing these funds. Of course, the Africa Center on the program side, we have our own internally generated revenue that we use for events and programs. We have partner supports, institutional partners, grants, and donor funds. And we have government, city and state support for local programming. But on the capital side, on the campaign and the construction side itself, we already do have several $1 million that have been graciously donated to us by large family offices that are able to accommodate a portion of what it is that we would like to build. So we're currently looking actually at only a phase of the larger building itself, but simultaneously thinking through how big we do want to be. Big meaning not necessarily physical big, but big in terms of impact, what we want to accomplish. So in terms of capital support, we have our own funds sitting in our accounts. We do have, we are looking for capital earmarks. We have high net worth individuals, family offices, and corporate sponsors who will also be coming in for a significant chunk of the money needed for this. But we're also looking, for example, through this new market tax credits for city and state support for the capital projects and expansion. So I'm going to pause right there and open it up to a few questions. Happy to answer any of your questions, but we would graciously ask and certainly look forward to receiving your support, receiving the formal letter of support so that we can move forward with a lot of the big plans and the big aspirations that we do have. Like we like to call ourselves small but mighty. We've done quite a lot with a very small 10, 11 man team, but we're looking to have a bigger footprint, a bigger name, and a bigger impact on the Harlem community. Thank you so much.
Thank you for presenting. I would ask if you could, if possible, are you able to actually share the letter on the screen while we entertain any questions? The proposed letter?
Sure.
Possible, just so that if people do want to, read what you had, that would be accessible to them on the screen now. But in terms of questions, I don't really have any questions for you. I think you guys are doing a wonderful, amazing work, and I've seen you grow, throughout the years that you have been here, and then really worked the pandemic through your outside displays, Black Lives Matter, display that's on the outside, and then also the growth of the inside of the center as well in the last few years. So that has been great to see, and the programming that continues to grow. But I do want to offer the floor for any questions that anyone else on the committee or the community may have in regards to the Africa Center, their programming, and their future for their footprint in the community.
My apologies. I'm attempting to post the template of the letter into our chat, but it's not really letting me. So I'm going to see if I can project it instead.
Yes, if you're able to share it on the screen, that might be helpful.
Sure.
And then not seeing any questions. So once the proposed letter is on the screen, just give a few minutes, and then I will ask and open the floor for for a motion to support the proposed letter.
Sure. I'm going to share this now. It looks very ad hoc. I apologize for the present, for how it looks, but I just wanted to be able to get this up, excuse me, as quickly as possible. Please let me know if you're able to see this.
I do, yes. Okay. And briefly, and I had a chance to briefly look at the letter, but just wanted to open it up to the community. So if there is anyone who is at the point where they're ready to make a motion, please feel free to raise your hand and I will acknowledge you, and then we can go from there. Okay, Eugene. Oh, Eugene, you're muted if you are speaking.
You know, I do
It's
that.
late. It's late. It's late. It's
Don't
late.
laugh at me. Don't laugh. I'm this old. I make a motion to support the letter of agreement. The letter of support. Jesus, why can't?
Yes, we got you. We got you. It's after 8:30, so I can translate after 8:30.
Thank you.
Giselle.
I second the motion.
Okay, great. And then Angel, if you could call the roll while others may be reading.
Sure. Stephanie Arroyo,
Yes.
April Autry,
Yes.
Adem Briha,
Oh, yeah, he's not on. We lost him.
Devin Cronshaw,
Oh, he is on. I'm sorry. Just didn't respond.
Yes, for Devin.
okay, Jewel Jones,
Yes.
Marissa,
Yes.
Giselle,
Yes.
excuse me, Jennifer Meyer,
Yes.
Jessica Morris,
Yes.
Robert Perez, not here, Eugene Rodriguez,
Yes.
Benny Torres not here, Jenny Chomsky.
Yes.
Try one more time for Adem Briha. Okay, motion carries.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So thank you all for presenting. And please let us know if there's anything else that we can do to continue to support the Africa Center in programming as you build out.
Great. Thank you all so much for your time. We certainly deeply appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Have a great
Bye-bye.
evening. Okay, so is there any old business? Okay, any new business? Thank you guys for hanging in here. Okay, so we're doing a roll call and we're adjourning. Angel, we're good?
Stephanie,
Here.
April,
Present.
Adem,
Here.
Devin,
Present.
Jewel,
Present.
Marissa,
Yeah.
Giselle,
Present.
Jennifer,
Present.
Jessica M,
I'm here.
Robert, Eugene,
Yes. I hear.
Vinny. Who was that? Was that Robert?
Oh, that was me, Gene.
Oh, Eugene. Yeah, no, I got you, buddy. Vinny, no, and Jenny Chomsky.
Here.
You'll have
Here.
quorum.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you all for hanging in here with us this evening. We had a lot of great presentations, some follow-up work to do, but thank you all for your contributions to the call. Have a good evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night,
Thank you.
everyone.